On the 26th of June 2015, Barack Obama was giving the eulogy at the funeral of the Reverend Clementa C. Pinckney, one of 9 black worshippers murdered in church by a white supremacist. Obama started to recite the words of Amazing Grace before breaking down in tears and singing it. He said later, "I didn't know what else to say. I felt as if I'd run out of words because I've been attending memorials like this too much, and nothing seems to have any impact." And what a chilling irony. Obama sang it in Charleston, South Carolina, the port through which 70% of the British slave ships delivered their 3 million passengers, captives. This is the first contradiction in a story of contradictions, of how a slave ship captain and a slave had a crucial impact in the fight for the abolition of slavery. This is the story of 2 boys who were both at sea aged 11 and whose paths through life mirrored each other before eventually crossing in London. There, they both became huge celebrities at the heart of the abolition campaign. Today, one of them is remembered because of a song, and the other is almost completely forgotten. Tonight, we hope to put that record straight by telling the whole story.
House of prayer. They did not ask what brought him there. He was not friend, he was not kin, but they opened the door and they let him in. And for an hour the stranger stayed. He sat with them and seemed to pray. But then the young man drew a gun and killed 9 people, old and young. In Charleston, in the month of June, the mourners gathered in a room. The president came to speak some words, and the cameras rolled and the nation heard. But no words could say what must be said for all the living and the dead. So on that day and in that place, the president sang Amazing Grace. The president sang Amazing Grace. We argued where to lay the blame, on one man's hate or on nation's shame. Some sickness of the mind or soul, and how the wounds might be made whole. But no word could say what must be said for all the living and The president sang Amazing Grace. My president sang Amazing Grace.
The story begins in 1745, when Olaudah Equiano, or Gustavus Vassa, was born in Benin in Africa. John Newton, 20 years older, was already an unruly sailor, whose bad behaviour resulted in his being bound into slavery for a time to an African queen. A decade later, their lives started to reflect each other with uncanny regularity. In 1755, Equiano was kidnapped into slavery.
They carried us off, our hands tied, as far as they could, till night came on. Thus I continued to travel, sometimes by land, sometimes by water, through different countries and various nations, till at the end of 6 or 7 months I arrived at the sea coast, and my sister and I were separated. The first object which saluted my eyes when I arrived on the coast was the sea and a slave ship riding at anchor, awaiting its cargo. These filled me with astonishment, which was soon converted into terror when I was carried on board. I was immediately handled and tossed up to see if I was sound by some of the crew. And I was now persuaded that I'd gotten into a world of bad spirits and that they were going to kill me.
Around the same time, on the same coast, Newton was buying and selling slaves, as these entries from his unpublished 1753 diary show. Monday, 29th of October, Captain Ellis's large Gold Coast cargo to barter enables him to bear away all the trade from here, from a vessel like mine that only has a common assortment. This day I bought a fine man-boy from Mr. Langton, but they come excessive expensive. I likewise went aboard French vessels, who offered some fine slaves to sell for bast, iron and knives. But I wasn't able to come up to their prices, for they understood little of the trade and proved excessive dear. Sunday, 18th of November. This morning, bought a man-boy and a girl, these being all I could take out of the 4 he showed me.
Can you sail the fierce seas? Can you plough the wild main? Can you ride the rough waves like a venturesome blade? Can you sleep neath the deck of a vessel of fame? For when that you do, you'll master your trade. Can you leave your own family and loved ones behind for a crew of vicious men and a captain likewise? Can you face the flog and the lash and ne'er be afraid? For when that you do, you'll master your trade. Can you sail to distant lands, to a far and foreign shore. Plunder realms without mercy, claim your spoils of war. Stealing souls for your chattels, their lives to degrade. For when that you do, you'll master your trade. Can you abuse your fellow man, leave them shackled down in chains? And can you brutalize and violate, disregard their cries of pain? Can you cast them overboard to a watery grave? For when that you do, you'll master your trade.
Newton's seafaring ended in 1755 through illness. Equiano was owned by several sea captains, proved to be an outstanding sailor, travelled the world, and lived in London between voyages until finally settling there in 1784, 4 years after Newton. In that intervening period, both Newton and Equiano found a deep-seated belief in God, inspired by shipwrecks that almost killed them both when they were around the same age. Newton's was in March 1748. I was awakened from a sound sleep by the force of a violent sea which broke on board us. We soon found the ship was filling with water very fast. The sea had torn away the upper timbers on one side and made a mere wreck in a few minutes. We had to recourse to the pumps, but the water increased against our efforts. Almost every passing wave was breaking over my head. All the provisions we had saved had washed overboard. The sails, too, were mostly blown away. Our expectations grew darker every day. Thus it continued till we saw land 4 weeks after the damage the sea had caused us. I was sincerely touched with a sense of the undeserved mercy I had received in being brought safe through so many dangers. I was sorry for my part misspent youth and proposed an immediate reformation. Thus, to all appearance, I was a new man.
At 1:30 in the morning, the man at the helm saw something under the lee beam that the sea washed against. It was a rock. I went down to the captain and told him the danger we were in. By this time the surf was foaming around us and made a dreadful noise on the breakers. And the very moment we let the anchor go, the vessel struck against the rocks. One swell now succeeded another, the roaring of the billows increased, and with one single heave of the swells, the sloop was pierced and transfixed among the rocks. In a moment, a scene of horror presented itself to my mind, such as I had never conceived or experienced before. All my sins stared me in the face. I thought that God had hurled his direful vengeance on my guilty head. My spirits at this forsook me, and I expected every moment to go to the bottom. I determined, if I should still be saved, that I would never swear again. And in the midst of my distress, I remembered the Lord, and that gave me some small hope.
Equiano had been baptized by his owners as a child, but wasn't a deep believer. Newton was brought up as a Christian, but rebelled against it. But as they grew older, their faith grew stronger, and both searched for the true way. Both were indebted to old sailors in London who introduced them to the uplifting power of evangelism. Newton recalls, "I was not brought in the way of evangelical preaching or conversation for 6 years. I found a captain of a ship from London, and he not only informed my understanding, but his discourse inflamed my heart. From him I received an increase of knowledge. My conceptions became more evangelical. In 1754, my two good friends introduced me to Mr. Whitefield. When in London, I lived at the fountainhead for spiritual advantages. Never before had I such an idea and foretaste of the business of heaven, with the exhortations, encouragement, composure, elevation, and assurance of faith which shone in his frame and discourses. At the end, I went away rejoicing." Equiano's eye-opener was exactly 20 years later, in 1774, when he was also in London.
It pleased God to direct me to a house where there was an old seafaring man who experienced much of the love of God shed abroad in his heart. His conversation rejoiced me greatly, and indeed I had never heard before the love of Christ to believers set forth in such a manner and in so clear a point of view. There came in a dissenting minister who invited me to a love feast at his chapel that evening. I was much astonished to see the place filled with people and no signs of eating and drinking. There were many ministers in the company. They began giving out hymns, and between the singing, the minister engaged in prayer. I knew not what to make of this sight, having never seen anything of the kind in my life before now. I was entirely overcome and wished to live and die thus. Grace will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. Like a candle in the dark, it's grace that will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. When the fire's just a spark, it's grace that will lead me home. When you feel like a ship that is rudderless, when you feel like a child who is motherless, when you feel overwhelmed by the otherness, it's grace that will lead you home. Grace will lead me home when they blame you when things go wrong, and they look at you like you're always the guilty one, and you know that you'd never know what. It's grace that will lead you home. Grace will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. When the fire's just a spark, it's grace that will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. When you read every single book, and you've aced every one of those tests you took, and you're turned down and you're constantly overlooked, it's grace that will lead you home. Oh, amazing, amazing grace, it makes my heart sing. Oh, amazing power divine. Oh, amazing, amazing grace, this wonderful thing. It's yours and it is mine. Grace will lead me home. Grace will lead me home. Like a candle in the dark, it's grace that will lead me home.
Equiano's and Newton's desire to commit themselves to God led them both to seek ordination. Both were rejected. Equiano was, in 1779, encouraged to become a missionary.
Governor McNamara said that he would, if I chose, get me sent out as a missionary to Africa. He told me not to fear, for he would apply to the Bishop of London to get me ordained. I consented to go to Africa, in hope of doing good, if possible, amongst my countrymen. Letters were written to the Bishop of London, and a meeting was arranged. With these letters, I waited on the bishop and presented them to his lordship. He received me with much condescension and politeness, but, from some certain scruples of delicacy, declined to ordain me.
The Church of England also kept Newton at arm's length because of his evangelism. Between 1758 and 1760, he was rejected for ordination 4 times, even by the Archbishop of York. On the final occasion, he wrote to his wife Polly, "Well, all is over for the present." The Archbishop was inflexible. According to historian G.M. Trevelyan, Newton was much too earnest about religion and too dangerous to be readily entrusted to teach it. However, the publication of Newton's best-selling biography, an authentic narrative, paved the way for his arrival in Olney in 1764. Lord Dartmouth, encouraged by the book's publisher, offered Newton the curacy of St. Peter's and St. Paul's. There he settled into a new life, bringing together a disparate community, supported by his childhood sweetheart and now wife, Polly.
Oh, Polly, my Polly, your whispering voice fills my heart. Through long separation, I conjure you when we're apart. In mumbling coaches, I chatter to strangers for days. But what a man needs is his chair and his hearth, and his wife's tender ways. Dear Polly, my Polly, dear Polly, my Polly, my love I send to thee when I'm far away from thee.
Oh Johnny, my Johnny, the sight of you changed me quite. Then first I beheld you at my parents' house that dark night. So young and so shy, all I wanted to do was to hide. waited for you, for to be your bride. Dear Johnny, my Johnny, dear Johnny, my Johnny, these words I send to you when you're far away from me.
Oh, Polly, my Polly, there's something so close in what you write, so pertinent, dearest, I see that you walk in the light. It fills me with joy when I hear that you watch and you pray. May the good Lord keep you safe while I'm away. Dear Polly, my Polly, dear Polly, my Polly, my love I send to thee when I'm far away from thee.
Dear Johnny, my Johnny, dear Johnny, my Johnny, these words I send to you when you're far away from me.
Newton's ability to inspire and entertain spread across the nation. Congregations of 60 grew into thousands. He also found a kindred spirit in Olney, the poet William Cowper. He and Cowper's friendship was inspired and mercurial. They wrote a new hymn for each Sunday to start the service on a high. Newton's headstrong fervour and enthusiasm was such that Cowper and even Polly sometimes sought peaceful places where he wouldn't constantly bombard them.
Oh, rat-a-tat-tat, it's my friend John. He strides through the woods with his great clogs on. He could have come last eve, my torments to reprieve. Sometimes a man just needs a little space and time to breathe. John doesn't get that. Oh, rat-a-tat-tat. Oh, ring-a-ding-ding, John's at my bell, imagining I'm in mortal hell. Today my morbid dread is all in dear John's head, and all I want is peace. Just up my tea and bite my bread, but no such thing. A ring-a-ding-ding. Turn round, Newton, trudge through the mud on the orchard floor. Turn round, Newton. If I wanted to see you, I'd open the door. Please stop that riot, I need some quiet. A ring-a-ding-ding, he's imagining things I politely refuse. You'll scare my muse, I must decline. Turn around, I am fine. Oh, rat-a-tat.
The 348 Olney hymns were published in February 1779. Among them, first sung on New Year's Day, 1773, was Amazing Grace. During the same period, Equiano was equally industrious. In 1761, aged 16, he started his journey to freedom.
My master had said he never intended to use me as a common slave, but to encourage me in trading, that I might have money enough in some time to purchase my freedom, and when that was the case he would let me have it for £40 sterling money, which was only the same price he gave for me. I endeavoured to try my luck as a merchant. I had one single half bit, which is equal to 3 pence in England. I trusted to the Lord to be with me, and at one or two of our trips to St. Eustatia, a Dutch island, I bought a glass tumbler with my half bit, and when I came to Montserrat I sold it for a bit or 6 pence. We made several successive trips to St. Eustatia, and in our next, finding my tumbler so profitable, with this one bit I bought 2 tumblers more, and when I came back, I sold them for 2 bits, equal to £1 sterling. Thus was I going all about the islands, ever trading as I went. Around 4 years later, finding myself with about £47, I went to my master, and with my money in my hand and many fears in my heart, I prayed him to be as good as his offer to me. This speech seemed to confound him. "What?" said he. "Give you your freedom? Have you got £40 sterling?" "Yes, sir," I answered. "How did you get it?" replied he. I told him very honestly, on which my master replied he would not have made me the promise if he had thought I should have got money so soon. My master then said he would not be worse than his promise. Taking the money, he told me to go to the secretary at the register office and get my manumission drawn up. These words of my master were like a voice from heaven to me. In an instant all my trepidation was turned into unutterable bliss, and I most reverently bowed myself with gratitude, unable to express my feelings but by the overflowing of my eyes.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm saved, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace that fear relieved, and precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised good to me, His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I The earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine. But God, who called me here below, shall be forever mine. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see.
That was the tune in 1773. And we're going to take a little break now, about 10, 12 minutes, something like that, and we'll continue the story after that. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Yeah.